Fuck. What to do? sorry. Got fucked up here.
No problem.
Has it ticked over into the next session yet?
25 seconds ago.
Yeah, okay, no worries. Just wanted to make sure the problem is not on this side.
Good to go, Cobus.
All right, qualifying. What's up, guys?
What's up, man?
Thank you, Stocky.
Hello and welcome everyone to the 21st round of the Pac'kafan World Championship Series. I'm your host, DeadOptionSlicks, here in the commentary booth, spectating the qualifying session down below, which I believe only has about 20 minutes remaining, as we go on board with Rip Chief Jedi with a pole time of 106.94. Currently in the the Engage car for this season. Pretty amazing season so far. Managed to be in contention for the lead of the championship for, I believe, a couple races in a row, and is still about 5th in the total standing so far, if we don't calculate all of the DNFs where people had to go on vacation and everything. And he is only about a few points from Scott Meek, who currently holds 4th position, Static Energy in 3rd, Big O in 2nd, only 11 points behind our lead man in the championship, Travic, who's currently qualified in the 4th position. Coming through the S's now, he's about to finish his flying lap. I believe this is his out lap. Let's take a look. Yes, this might even be his out lap. No idea, since I didn't watch the start of the lap, but as he crosses the line, will he improve his time? No, he will not. His last time was a 108 flat, and he completely wrecks it into the wall. Now we are on board with No Not Merely as he exits the pits now, coming through turn 4. Actually, what does that count as? 4A now. It's going down into turn number 7. Wait, which layout am I looking at the moment? Okay, my apologies. It seems my track map has 2 completely different segments. So we might even have to list the corners individually here, as he comes through the S's of 8 and 9, if I'm not too mistaken. Going through the very high-speed, infamous turn 10 is really easy if you're pushing a little too hard to grab a wheel off and go off into the sand. It's coming through, negotiating the final corner of 11. Coming down the main straightaway, getting very close to the exit wall, and he shall start his hot lap. Now going up through turn 1, turn 2, really on the edge on the exit there. Going back up the hill for turn 3 and 3A, going around into 4 and 5. Car wanting to drift out a little bit wide, but not too far off the track. It's going to come down through turn 6 and make his run all the way down to turn 7 before he gets through the 7-9 complex, the almost seemingly infinite amount of S's going down the hill here at the Sonoma Raceway GP. Track is about 40 degrees centigrade, I believe, so I think that is a pretty decently hot track from what I can tell. Certainly not 40 degrees Fahrenheit, but we'll take another look at our telemetry to double check. And our telemetry has died, so we have no on-lap data for a brief moment. So his last time was a 107.4. His best time is a 107.2. Let's see if he can try and improve on that. No, not really. Currently in the 3rd position. seemingly going in out for another flying lap. Just a little blip of the throttle, get the car to rotate. Nice rotation on the exit of turn 6. Goes a bit wide on 7 to carry the speed on to the S's. He's going through the S complex. Now takes a little bit of the rumble strip, and he loses it just a little bit and has to take the service runoff road. That will surely be the end of this qualifying lap. He will be a little bit cool-headed, trying to get some heat into his tires for the next run. As we're going to move along into Big O, currently in the second position, looking really squirrely there on the exit of turn 5. Negotiating 7, taking a lot more runoff than Nonot did earlier, and just loses the back end on the exit. He's definitely aborting that lap for sure, and he'll be for sure heading to the pits. Now on board with our pole man, Rip Chief Jedi, setting a 106.9. His last lap wasn't completely too impressive, as he loses the back end out of turn 4 as well. Trying to get down into... No, that's not even turn 4. That's turn 7. Thumbs up for not being able to read the track map properly, considering that there's 2 different tracks on this, and the one that's highlighted isn't the one that we're actually supposed to be reading. So he's going to come down the main straight, and he does not improve on his time. That must have been an outlap, because it's in the mid 2 minutes. So he might be going for a lap now as he comes through turn 4, going into turn 5 right about now. Really smooth on the entry, just carrying the momentum through the corner. It almost seems like his car is floating just a little bit on the exits. Very nice and precise onto the rumble strip, leading onto turn 7. He's going to run a bit wide, get the direction change done, and come straight down the hill, banging through the gears, going through the S section. Really flat car through there, and it seems like the Engage boys have definitely got the setup right on this one as he slides the car around turn 10. Negotiates the cautious turn of 11. You want to really be careful of that wall to the exit on the left, and he's coming down the main straight, watching the wall on the right, and he's come across to set a 107 flat. So Rip Chief Jedi does not improve in this session, and Big O has just run off the course. So we're now going to be on board with who will we pick today? Our championship leader, Travic, as I believe he is going for his second or third flying lap at the moment. He's coming down through the middle sector, going through turn 10, picks up a little bit of understeer as he comes into turn 11, and very nice apex speed there. Doesn't take too much of the exit to get any closer to the wall than he needs to, and he has just set a 137.601. So that wasn't even a qualifying lap, and he's looking really good. Let's see what he'll actually do for qualifying pace as he comes through turn 3 and now turn 4. Looks like he lost a little bit of speed trying to get the car's nose into the corner. He seems to have good rotation through this complex though, so he might be able to carry the speed through sector 2 and maybe make up some ground going down into sector 3. Doesn't take the extra bit of road on the outside like some of the others have. He's nice and precise through the S's, but I'm not sure if he's really carrying any speed in this qualifying run at the moment. He's down in 5th, and it just seems like his car is on rails, but we'll let the lap time speak for us. I don't know, but this doesn't look too fast as he just barely brushes the wall the outside curb of 11, and he has gone just a bit faster. His last time was the fastest of his personal best, a 107.3. So Travick remains in the 5th position. Scott Meek remains in the 6th position. We got Stocky heading out on track now. He'll be desperate to improve his time of a 109.8. Flying Spark with a 112. Cobus Marie currently with a 101, having some troubles getting the setup together, and camera crew. So we're going to go back on board with No Not Really, who is still trying to improve on his times. Best times currently 107.271. Project Cars likes to round up a bit sometimes, and he should be going for his flying lap now. So he's going to go up into turn 2. He doesn't seem to take a lot of exit where you typically see it. He tracked out a little bit later than some of the other competitors have so far. He's now going to come back down the hill on to turn 5 and then 6. Looking pretty clean and precise through this set of corners, but he's carrying a massive amount of exit speed as he runs over the curb, just touching the grass just a little bit. And he's definitely going to want to get around the engaged car of, I believe, Rip Chief Jedi, but I think he slowed down and aborted his lap. So he's going to be going out for the next lap as Rip, I believe he's on an in lap at the moment, or a flying lap. I'm not too sure about that, but No Not Really is really going to have to pick up some pace in this next lap in terms of qualifying performance if he wants to get anywhere near the top 3 and possibly challenge for the race win. So we're going for the next flying lap. Hopefully No Not Really will not run into traffic this time around as he comes into turn 2 and runs completely off the course, ruining his second flying lap. So we're now on board with Big O currently in 2nd position, about a good 2/10 from our pole sitter so far, and he's definitely going to want to be making up some of that time. So he may be on his out lap at the moment, just trying to get some heat into the tires. It doesn't seem like a lot of speed came out of the previous corner as he loses the back end coming out of 7-7, proving to be a tricky corner for the top 4. Really easy to lose the back end. Really wants to step out as you're putting so much load through the tires, taking the right-hander, and you're going downhill as well. You're going over a little bit of a bump at the top of the hill to start your track downwards, and the tires just can't keep up sometimes, as we've seen with Big O, Rip Chief, and even No Not Really at some times. It could also be just the effect that the DRS has in qualifying. You're allowed unlimited use of DRS in qualifying, and unfortunately the race. And it might just be that the competitors are getting caught out just a wee bit on the exit of 7, releasing the DRS a little too early and just losing time. We're on board with Static Energy, who's just taken 3rd position from No Not Really, only by a few thousandths or hundredths of a second. So he's definitely going to want to improve on this next set of laps in order to retain the 3rd position. Static Energy, pretty low-key so far this season. Hasn't had the best of races, but it seems like his qualifying pace is surely showing this time around. He's really close to Big O for 2nd position, and he's just inched himself ahead of No Not Really. So we're on board with Static as he tries to negotiate the turn 7 complex and loses the back end again, running straight into the wall. This is proving to be one of the most difficult corners, and it's definitely going to play a factor into tonight's race. Rip Chief Jedi definitely on a flying lap, front tires giving up a little bit there through turn 10. He's now going through 11. Doesn't take too much of the exit. I'm not sure that he really needs to, as he comes across the line and he sets a 106.918, just marginally faster than his previous pole time. What an end to a lap that was. We're on board with Big O, looking a little bit ragged through 10, but definitely the throttle pedal compensating for that, as he comes across the line and does not exactly improve, considering it was his out lap. So he's run off into the grass and off into the dirt. Pressure running really high here in qualifying for the 2015 and now on to 2016 Pac'kafan World Championship. Static Energy coming around the final corner now. Let's see what he gets for a time this time around. So it's currently his out lap. His time's registered as a 2:13.9. So he's definitely going to want to see if he can get something done this lap. He's run a little bit wide on the curb of turn 3 going on to 4. And he's now just a little bit on the ragged edge of the grip of his rear tire coming down the hill. A lot of load through the tires on the downhill sectors. It'll be interesting to see when the cars start losing downforce following each other and the tires start to fall away. It's looking very nice through 10. It looks like he tapped the curb a bit and unfortunately ran off into the wall, but he's going to go out for another run. We've got 7 minutes in qualifying remaining, so everyone's going to be trying to push as hard as they can to get the final position sorted for the race, and in which before the race we will have a warm-up session and hopefully not super ghosted cars. So far in qualifying, we have Rip Chief Jedi in pole position, Big O in second place, Static Energy in P3, No Not in P4, Travic, our championship leader, in P5, Scott Meek in P6, Stocky in P7, Cobus in P8, Flying Spark in P9, and our camera crew. So back on board with the current pole man, Rip Chief Jedi. He's going to see if he can attempt to best his previous time, because there's not a huge margin between himself and the other cars, and will definitely want to eke out a little bit of that gap in qualifying to start on the pole, because pole's definitely going to have a little bit of an advantage here on this tight circuit of the Sonoma Raceway Grand Prix layout. There aren't a huge amount. Well, there are overtaking opportunities, but at the same time, the cars are going to be going through a massive tunnel of dirty air streaming from the cars in front. And the further up the grid you are, the easier it's going to be on your tires for this round. Team's probably going for a medium to high downforce setup, as the straight isn't all too long. However, it isn't necessarily short. You have a lot of high speed left and right handers through the second sector and the final sector as well, and you also have some of the tight corners in sector 1. But that's Rip Chief Jedi going off of the track, going to start himself another lap, and Travic's got himself into P3. He's stolen it from Static, setting a 107 flat with a I don't even know how to say that number. Wow, man, I need some coffee. But we're just going to call it a 107 flat for now, as he comes around turn number 7 as a ghosted car. I'm not sure what kind of glitch this is, but it definitely is taking some form or another in this qualifying session. So Traffic, the invisible blob he is going now through turn 10 and running a little bit wide through the exit of the corner, but he hasn't seemed to have lost any speed. I don't think he's touched enough grass. Gets really close to the exit wall on the left out of turn 11. He's now on the main straight to set a 107.082, so marginally slower than his previous best time, which I'm pretty sure he will be happy with in terms of pace for the race. We're now looking at our previous pole sitter in the second position. His 106.9 was not enough to ace the session, and he's currently going to go ahead on for another lap. There's 3 minutes in the session remaining, and not a huge amount of time to get laps done. If someone were to come out now, they'd have just enough time to complete barely 2 laps, but nothing more than that as Rip Chief Jedi goes through turn number 6. He's going to make his way on to turn number 7. He's really trying to get the exit speed on this corner here. I think he's trying to improve on sector 2. Make sure he carries the momentum through the corner. Yet again, he isn't completely carrying all of the exit curve that some of the other competitors are carrying, as he takes a DRS spin going towards turn number 10, I believe. Nope. Actually, turn number 8. So out of turn 8, he's taken the DRS spin and is now going straight across the line for another attempt at a lap if possible. Our current pole sitter is Big O, pulling yet another marvelous lap out of his rear diffuser with a 106.7, a good 0.2, possibly even 1.5 tenths quicker than our previous pole sitter, Rip Chief Jedi, and 5th in the championship so far. Big O definitely looking to make an impression on this race and try and close the gap between himself and Travic for the race, for the championship. Only 3 races remaining until the end of the championship, and Big O's definitely going to be cruising to the finish line for the end of this session. Rip Chief Jedi's definitely going in for another lap. He's going to see if he can improve on his time. He's definitely carried a lot of speed through Sector 3. Really smooth on the brakes, carrying all of that momentum out of the final corner. Goes around the bend to the main straight, and he has not improved. We're now on board with Travic. He's also going to go on the main straight for his final lap, and he is also not improved, but he does still have barely enough time for one final flying lap before the end of the session. No, not really, nowhere to be seen in the shot, but he's definitely going through the S's as we speak. He's currently in P5. He's definitely going to be upset with that performance being closer to the middle to tail end of the field with only 9 cars in the race so far. Relatively hard on the brakes into 11, now going on to 12 toward the final straight, in which he will set a 107.1, putting him up into P4 with 30 seconds remaining. Not too sure if Static is going to have anything to respond with after that, with only 20 seconds remaining into the session. Travic has had a DRS spin in the final sector. He doesn't improve. Rip Chief Jedi is off into the wall. He doesn't improve. And here our pole sitter for round 21 of the Sonoma GP, Big O, with a 106.780. Just about 1 tenth ahead of Rift Chief Jedi. Travik 1/10 behind that. No, not really 1/10 behind that. So the top 5 are within 0.5 of a second. It's probably the closest qualifying we've seen yet in the season as we make our way to the warm-up session, where we get a little bit of a taste of what people have in terms of race pace. We've got Travik, Big O, and No Not Really, along with Scott Meek on the track. Cobus Marie and I believe Stocky still in the pits. Flying Spark on track as well. Everyone will just be trying to dial in the race setups and making sure that the fuel numbers are good to go for the main event. So I believe Rip Chief Jedi in second position for the start of the race. We've got Big O on pole, Travik close behind in the third position, and then No Not in static behind that. Our top 5 for the evening. Now this is where I take a quick look onto the chat. Alright. We will just take a quick break while I go grab something to drink and our competitors prepare for their imminent race.
Going into this race completely blind, pun intended. Total,
You mean no pun intended?
no, I missed the pun.
Yeah. Gonna be a fun race. It's all about tires, I think, on this track.
Yeah.
Racing just clean, I think. We'll just kind of do it, I guess.
For quality time.
106.7. Pole. Just died on the back straight, flipped over. I'm going to the hospital, guys. I'll see you later. Bunch of body work everywhere. Just died on the back straight, flipped over. I'm going to the hospital, guys. I'll see you
It's
later.
going to be kind of peaceful starting from the back.
Bunch of body work everywhere.
No, you said 3.1, right?
That's to play on the safe side.
Yeah. It's about 3, like right around 3.05.
I was just making sure, because 35 laps times that's only like 110 gallons, and that's a lot, very little fuel compared to what we usually do for the whole race.
Yeah, I'm taking 111. Taking the full load. Right to the gas tank.
Same, it'll make my pit stops easier to wing.
Yeah, well the pit road's really long on this track, so save you some time.
You're gonna start with full fuel.
Sir. That's the plan. Somewhat playing the tortoise. Make my tires last. If I can get to the end of lap 15, that would be ideal. I don't know if that's gonna happen.
I have no clue what I'm doing still.
Got a minute and 30 to decide.
I've got some. I don't.
To go with mine. I think it's a good one.
I like the fuel. It didn't bother me too much.
Well,
But
the two stop.
But that's a stretch too. I mean, they're all a stretch.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna come down to the tire.
It's a stretch if you do it with mediums. It's a stretch. It's just there's so many stretches. I don't like it.
This has been like the first race in probably like 6 weeks where I've actually had like a backup plan.
All I know is I got the heat off, the windows open, and it's like 22 degrees outside. And I'm sweating.
I was about to say it's probably still wet, like 100 degrees in your room.
Yeah, it is. I am.
How does it
producing
stay
much
so
heat.
hot in there?
Dude,
It's
my
all
room
the
gets fucking hot.
it's all the heat that I'm producing.
It's like between my computer and me.
My computer used to get really hot, and then I kind of fixed that. My room doesn't heat up like it used to.
Alright, 20 seconds remaining in the warm-up session. People setting up their practice starts with clutch in hand, or they're standing on the brakes. There's also the old handbrake trick, which definitely works with the automatic transmission, but it definitely seems that Big O is opting for the standard service brake start. As we have the lineup from the warm-up session, we've got Rip on pole, Big O in P2, Travic in third, and Static Energy in fourth. And we've got No Not Really not even setting a time. So onward to the race. So here we are at the start of the race. We've got Rip Chief Jai in the first position, stealing it from Big O onto the run up to the hill. We're now going through turn 4 as we speak. We've got Big O in third, chasing behind for the lead. We've got Traffic in the third position, Static Energy in fourth, taking the spot from No Not Really, and No Not Really is plunging himself all the way down into 6th, and we got a half spin by what appears to be Scott Meek in front of No Not Really, putting him all the way into last. So No Not Really, after having qualified within the top 5 in such a difficult qualifying session, now has to make up all of that time as the field squabbles over the midfield positions. We're now on board with Scott Meek trying to go around the outside of Cobus Marie and successfully gets it done on the way down into turn 10. They're going to make the run down into turn number 11 in Cobus Marie, sniffing up the inside to see if he can try and get a move done under the brakes. It seems like he's too far back, and surely it is, as we are on lap 34 of the Sonoma Grand Prix. Scott Meek pulling a gap to Cobus Marie in 7th position. Is currently a battle for 7th between Scott Meek, Cobus Marie, and Flying Spark, each eking out a gap to each other, but Flying Spark seems to be catching to the back of Cobus at the moment, as Cobus comes out of turn number 6, now right behind I believe the flank driver of Scott Meek. Flying Spark and No Not Really getting very close as No Not Really runs wide, probably not anticipating Flying Spark, the Briton, to break so early into turn number 7, having to take a little bit of runoff on the exit, but this is definitely going to toss up the strategy for No Not Really this early into the race, as he was planning to go long, and it might seem that he might have to take it even longer, as well as try and make up a little bit of time from the first lap incidents. Let's move along to the 4th and 5th position. We've got Static Energy chasing down Stocky in the Chaos car up into P4. Stocky's probably patting himself on the back right now for making up all of those positions into qualifying. He was, I believe, P7 or P8 by the end of qualifying. Now he's made it all the way up into 4th position in the early stages of the race. This is, I believe, lap 3 of the Sonoma Grand Prix, and it seems like all Stocky will have to do in the dying laps of this race is just manage the tires and see if he can extract as much pace as he can and try and get as close to 3rd as he possibly can to make sure they can get himself a little bit of a gap going into the pit stop window, which I believe is the halfway distance of the race. However, there was speak of 2 stops in this 30 lap race, so we might have people pitting anywhere between lap 9 and lap 11 as Stocky negotiates the turn 4, 5, and 6 complex. Static Energy close behind, and it seems that he is definitely slowly gaining on the Chaos driver of Stocky at the moment, as I make an attempt to look at my standings here. The SMS Racing driver, Static Energy, definitely pushing quite hard in this early stage of the race to try and catch up to Stocky. He's now he's now decreased the gap to about 1 second. So Static Energy slowly closing into Stocky, and we're not even close to the halfway point of the race. So will Stocky be able to hold him off for just a few more laps so he can buy himself just a little bit of time to make a move in his pit strategy? Because it seems as if Static Energy, well, previously was closing at an alarming rate, has now just lost about, according to our timing deltas, he's lost about 3/10 in the first sector. So as long as Stocky keeps up the pace that he has now, which last lap was about a 110.3, he should be able to keep the gap far enough that Static Energy and the Team SMS car might not be able to make a move off before the first set of stops. We're now going to go into our top 3. We've got Rip Chief Jedi, a good 1 second, no, a good 3 seconds ahead of Big O at the moment. Both setting pretty decent times. It seems like last lap Big O was a good 1 second, full second faster than Rip Chief Jedi. So Rip might be looking after the tires at the moment as we go on to team radio. You can definitely tell that the concentration is at its highest at the moment. The race is definitely intense. No one too far from the 3-second margin within the top 3. 3 seconds, I think a total of 5 seconds separate the top 3. And Rip is at the tippy top of that ladder, currently setting 109s to define the race pace. Big O about a good 10th off of Rip Chief Jedi at the moment. He might be going into Nurse's tires just a wee bit to see if he can make them last toward the end of this stint. I believe most people might be considering a 2-stop with the pace being set at the moment. However, some might be even considering a 1-stop, which I'm not completely sure how exactly that would work, considering the amount of turns, as well as the fact that the field does have 7 times tire wear on, so it does make it that much more challenging to hold on to the tires. And also taking into consideration the revision of the tires in the last update. I'm not sure if it's affected the Formula A yet. However, I have been wrong before. We've got traffic in the 3rd position, still within 3.5 to 4 seconds of our 2nd place man, Big O. We've got Rip Chief Jedi in 1st, still keeping that 3-second gap to Big O. And as long as he just keeps a little bit of distance between Big O and himself, he might be able just to keep the lead even after the pit stops. However, as I am speaking, his lead has slightly decreased to about 2.5 seconds. And it seems like Big O may be starting his charge this lap. So we've got Rip in 1st position, Big O in the 2nd position, Traffic in the 3rd position, and Stocky into the pits. He goes for his first pit stop of the race on lap 22. P7. We're now on board with Scott Meek in P8 at the moment. Going right around Stocky, putting him down into, I believe, P9, but he might be in a net 5th or 6th position on track if we take into account the strategies. Got Flying Spark in the 10th position, just trying to go as long as on his tires as he can and try and play a bit of the strategy game here on lap 27. We've got Cobus Marie in 8th, and Scott Meek trailing ahead by about 2 seconds. So 2 seconds separates Scott Meek and Cobus Marie in both the flank and... let's see, what does our sheet say? The flank and the Netraco racing cars. So, may, if the gap starts to decrease, see a battle between these two toward the dying laps of the race. No, Not Really has gotten himself into the 6th position after the first stop for Stocky, and he will definitely be looking to try and catch up to Blind Jesus, making a surprise appearance in this Grand Prix. After qualifying, he managed to join in the warm-up session with his Petroblast car. Hasn't been in the series for quite a while, but he's definitely making some good points for his team and a strong performance for the Bizart drivers. So, Blind Jesus, who was possibly started from the last position after joining in warm-up, is making his way up to the 5th position and might be in a net 5th after the pit stops. He's currently 5 seconds ahead of No Not Really, and he seems to be continuing on his run of pace at the moment. He's setting a 109.9, which, if we go from what we were looking off previously of the leaders, is not too far off. However, it is a good 7 to 8 tenths, so not too shabby, but nothing to sneeze at either. Going on board with Static Energy. His last lap was about a 110. So he might be slowing a little. Yes, he is. In fact, he's going into the pits on lap 24. Possibly going in for the 2-stop. So we've got Static Energy and Stocky on 2-stop strategies. Blind Jesus is still holding on after lap 24. You've got Travic in the 3rd position. I believe he hasn't actually taken a run to the pits as of yet, as he comes to lap 1 of the cars. I believe that was possibly Big O. Yes, Big O going very slowly on the track. I wonder what has happened. Maybe he's picked up a cut track penalty. And that is how quickly you can concede a position here at Sonoma. 1 cut track penalty has put Big O all the way down into 5th position behind, I believe that's behind No Not Really, or even Static Energy. No, it is No Not Really's. In fact, No Not Really's made himself... He's put himself into position 4 after the first lap incident, and he might be looking to stretch the tires this stint and see how far ahead he can build a gap to all of the people on the 2-stop strategy. It is definitely a viable option, but will the tires hold on long enough for it to be worth it. If they fall off too soon, he's just going to lose all of the places again. So, got Big O hounding No Not Really, and looks like Big O definitely having a pinch more pace through the first sector. He's definitely sniffing a move up the outside. No Not Really taking the racing line, running very wide for turn 7 to carry the momentum down the hill. Big O definitely looking to try and get around the Panasonic car of No Not Really, looking into turn number 10. He might even try and take a sniff up the inside into the braking zone, but he's definitely not close enough to make it stick. And in fact, Big O has headed into the pit. So on lap 22, we have Big O into the pits, and Rip Chief Jedi is still making his runs in a net 5th position. So I believe Rip has possibly already made his pit stop, if not has had a spin earlier in the race and has dropped down into 4th. We've got Blind Jesus in 2nd position. His last time was a 1:12, so the tires are definitely falling off at this stage in the race, but he's definitely hanging on to what little grip he has remaining, and he's just trying to stretch that stint out and see if he can get a one-stop strategy. He just lost it into turn number 7, so those rear tires have definitely had enough. Let's see if he has gained enough time by skipping a pit stop to make the one-stop strategy all the worthwhile. But judging by the times at the moment and the fact that he's just gone into the pits, means that he's possibly going to be on the 2-stop strategy as well. So we've got No Not Really up into the 2nd position, still on the same set of tires he began the race on, and it seems like he might actually be able to make the one-stop work. Most of the other contenders have already pit for their stops already. And we've got Travic in the lead of the Grand Prix, currently setting 111s, just trying to look after the tires into the sweepers of turns 7 through 9. We're going to go into the right-hander of 10 at the moment, and it seems like he has adequate grip for now. Definitely really smooth under the brakes, but it doesn't seem like he has a lot of attraction to get out of the corners. However, he is setting a pretty good pace at the moment. He's setting a 1:10.5, so he might just have the race in the bag, as he's currently about a good 20 seconds ahead of the field, which might just buy him a pit stop come the latter stages of the race. So our championship leader, Travic, is definitely making a performance for himself at the moment, building a 22-second gap to Rip Chief Jedi, who is in the 2nd position. I believe No Not Really has now gone in for his pit stop on lap 20, and he might continue on the 2-stop strategy. We've got Rip Chief Jedi in the 2nd position. We've got Stocky, surprisingly, in 3rd position, so he's gained places in the pit stop window, and he might be pitting again soon, because he did pit on lap 27. We started the race on lap, I believe, lap 35. And if that is the case, then maybe after going 15 laps on the possibly medium compound tire, maybe No Not Really might actually try to make a one-stop happen. I mean, it'll be very marginal, but he might be able to get it done, as we have Stocky in 3rd position, just navigating the first corners of Sector 1. and it seems as if he's on a little bit of a tire-saving run at the moment. We've got Scott Meek in 4th position, carrying a lot of momentum through turn number 4. And he's definitely going to be looking to build a gap through Sector 2 to Blind Jesus, coming in 5th position. Didn't even qualify. Started last, and he's now racing up in the midfield, trying to gain some points for his team. It hasn't been the best season for the USA drivers in the Bizart Racing car, but he's definitely making up for it now as he just slides the car around turn 10. And he's really hard on the brakes into turn number 11, going into the start-finish as Scott Meek heads into the pits, putting Blind Jesus into the 3rd position. So Blind Jesus looking good for a podium at the moment, as I believe that was Flying Spark in that previous corner, just letting the cars through as he has been blue flagged at this stage in the race. We're on lap 18, and it's currently a race between Blind Jesus and Static Energy. Static Energy qualifying in the 4th position, hunting down Blind Jesus at the moment, who is currently setting what I believe to be 111s to 110s, and Static Energy in this stage of the race is about a full second faster as we come through the turn 7 through 9 complex, now into turn 10, carrying a huge amount of momentum through turn number 10, and very easy on the brakes into turn number 11. Doesn't quite track out as much as he had previously, but he's definitely made up the time, setting a 109 flat on lap 17. And Static Energy on that very same lap is set a 109.4, so this could shape up to be a battle between the two yet. As we go further down the field, we've got a battle between No Not Really and Big O. No Not Really picking up a cut track penalty. He's going very slowly down the hill from turn 4, and he must be kicking himself right in the butt because he's very close to Big O and Travic ahead of him at the moment. He just picked up that 5-second penalty, and he now has to make up that gap all over again as Travic has gone very wide into turn number 7, and he's now navigating 8, 9, and 10 as we speak, trying to keep the car on the road, picking up a little bit of understeer, the same understeer we saw over in qualifying. The front end, the rear end just doesn't seem to want to brake too much, and he's just losing a little bit of apex speed, but No Not Really coming up close behind on the run up the hill into turn 1 and 2. Very early onto the accelerator pedal. Goes right over the curbs, tracks out as much as he can. He's just trying to carry all of the momentum from Sector 1 into Sector 2 as we now come through turn number 6. Brake markers on the left. Almost sliding off in the middle there, but he managed to hold on to it. No, Not Really. Known for being relatively easy on the tires, even though it looks as if he's on the absolute limit. Very good at having a flat car during most of these races. It was a very important skill to have in a Formula A championship where you have 7 times the tire wear. As he runs completely wide on turn number 10, doesn't seem to lose too much time though. Under rotates the rear right tire just a little bit from our screens currently, and he's now within 5/10 of Travic, our championship leader. And it looks like he's about to make a race of this yet. I'm not completely sure how long No Not Really plans to go on these tires for. However, it seems like he's driving them as if there's just an abundance of grip. I'm not sure what the strategy call is this time around, but he surely must be planning for another pit stop. Maybe he'll even surprise us, but I gotta say, it's probably very important for No Not Really to try and get in front of traffic, because he's definitely using up more tires than he normally would, setting the same times in the dirty air around Sonoma. There's not a lot of room to stay out of the dirty air of the car ahead, considering the track is only about 2 car lengths wide, about 2.5, and most of the time you spend it going left and right. So going all the way across the track, so cars are almost indefinitely committed to the dirty air virus. Now on board with Cobus, who is taking his second pit stop, I believe, of the race here on lap 14, we're gonna say, because we're counting backwards. Do not know how to handle this yet, but actually looking on the time screen, we're on lap 20 out of 35 of the Sonoma Grand Prix. We've got Flying Spark in the 10th position. The strategy hasn't quite played out for him, and he's just letting all of the cars through to avoid an incident. Not the best weekend for Flying Spark this evening. He's had a few podiums, I believe, as well as some good points in the previous races, and he's just not having a very good weekend this time around. We're going now on board with Scott Meek in the 8th position, headed to Stocky, who is currently holding 7th, but I'm not sure if he has made his pit stop already. It doesn't seem like it, as he is on pace, setting a 109.6 at the moment, and the leaders are setting 108, so he's slowly catching up little by little in terms of strategy gain. Was No Not Really goes for the move onto traffic into turn number 7 and makes it stick, and that is for position 5, going down the S section into sector 3. Traffic definitely not wanting to let go of that place. He's probably going to try and see if he can sniff a move up into turn number 11. This is a relatively prime overtaking spot, as it looks like we've had Big O lose it going into turn number 11, and that puts No Not Really in P2 with traffic chasing down right behind him and Big O behind that. So you've got a train going down for the 2nd position, and it looks like Blind Jesus is leading the race. So Blind Jesus in the number 4 Bizart car, I believe, is leading the Sonoma Grand Prix, and if he plays his cards right, he might actually take home the win. He's currently 11 seconds ahead of the leaders currently, and his lap times aren't looking too bad at the moment. In fact, he's gaining time to the leaders. So if he can possibly hit a 15-second gap, if he hasn't hit already, 15 to 18-second gap, he might be able to hold on to P1 and win the first heat of the 21st round of the Grand Prix on his return race. We've got No Not Really in P2, and he's currently lapped a 108.9, so he's definitely trying to make up time to Blind Jesus in 1st position. Just lost it a little bit over the curb there, managed to keep it onto the rumble strips, keep it onto the road, and keep on trucking toward that 1st position. Traffic falling behind just a little bit. The gap is now 2 seconds to the car ahead, and he's possibly going to be going in for a another charge quite soon. As I say now, it's gone from 2 seconds to I think 2.8 seconds, and now back down to 2.2. So he's gaining time and he's losing time. But if it all comes together toward the end of the race, because it seems as if the tires could be graining at this phase, they could be going off just a little bit for traffic, he might be able to make something of it, as No Not Really continues in the first position. He's most likely going to the end of the race with 10 laps remaining. Really, 9 laps remaining. We're now on lap 26 out of 35, with No Not Really in the first position. We've got traffic close behind that, about 2.8 to 3 seconds behind. I believe our timing screen is spazzing out a little bit because it's gone all the way back down to 2.3 seconds. So we're going to say about 2 seconds behind him. And we've got Rip Chief Jedi 17 seconds behind that, with Blind Jesus chasing him down on the fresher rubber. He could even be on the soft compound with 9 laps remaining. Now the question is going to be, at this moment, will Blind Jesus on the fresh rubber be able to make up enough time to at least score a podium position? With his strong run so far in the race, he's even led a couple laps after starting out of nowhere, almost like Randy Orton and John Cena, just tracking down the leaders and putting that pressure on. We've got Stocky in the 5th position. He now goes into the pits for the final 8 laps of the race. We've got Scott Meek going down the pit straight in the 5th position now, previously 6th position. We've got Static Energy just coming out just ahead of No Not Really, who has now taken his pit stop. And we've got Big O in the 8th position currently. I'm not sure what has happened to Big O's day, but he'll definitely be looking to try and make that up come the Saturday race. So we've got No Not Really in 6th, Static Energy in 5th, Scott Meek in 4th, Blind Jesus in the podium positions at the moment, chasing down Rip Chief Jedi in 2nd position, and Travic in the 1st position with 7 laps remaining. So we're back on board with Blind Jesus, who is now lost a bit of time. He's now 4 seconds behind, so he could have possibly picked up a cut track, maybe even a little bit of a spin, but he's definitely on form for a huge haul of points on his debut return to the series. We got Scott Meek close behind that, but not too close. He's about 5 seconds behind, 1 second ahead of this man, Static Energy, who is on a mission to redeem his race. He was within the top 3 and 4 for almost the entirety of the race. He's currently sitting in 5th, and will be looking to take up that last position in 4th before the race is over. We've got No Not Really close behind that in the battle for the 4th position. No Not Really not having the greatest start, even running a little bit wide there in turn number 8, but he's definitely got the pace to pay the bills. He's got the pace to make the race. No Not in the Panasonic car, coming down the main straight now to set a 109.2. So, No Not Really headed by Static Energy, headed by Scott Meek. So, No Not Really's definitely caught up to the back of Static. Static's dropped off a little bit just to try and defend from No Not Really. No Not Really seems to have quite a bit of speed going into Sector 1 and Sector 2. He's just looking up the inside, going into 6. Can't get it to stick. He's too far behind as they go up into the uphill corner of turn number 7. No, not really, right on the rear diffuser of Static Energy in the Team SMS car. They'll be going down through turn number 10 and into turn number 11 quite shortly, and it looks like no, not really, is a little too far back to make any moves, but it'll definitely be thinking about setting up the pass with the remaining 5 laps to go. Not 6, yep, 5 laps to go. It took a while for our timing screens to change over, but this race is definitely heating up between the 2 drivers, one in the SMS car, one in the Panasonic car, and it's just a joy to watch this race for 4th place. Scott Meek just trying to hold on and make sure that his tires make it to the end of the race as these 2 squabble for position, and hopefully he'll be hoping that they slow themselves down so that he'll be able to retain the 4th position. Well, it seems like No Not Really's dropped off just a little bit from Static Energy. Static Energy just digging down deep to find the time, but it looks as if he's got right back on him into the final sector, and he might try and sniff a move out of turn 10 to 11, just like we've been talking. We haven't seen a move done here yet, but there's a first time for everything, and the race hasn't died yet. We've got 4 laps remaining in the Grand Prix. No Not Really has tapped the outside wall, and we've got 3 cars nose to tail in the dying laps of the race, pushing as hard as they can on rubber that might possibly fall off come the next 3 laps. We're going to move on ahead into the front where you have Traffic, our championship leader, ahead by a good 8 seconds. So Traffic looking to win the Sonoma GP on race 1 of round 21. Definitely on form, and the only thing that's going to be stopping Traffic now is possibly the random cut track penalty, which I doubt he's going to be picking up this late into the race with this big of a lead. We've got Rip Chief Jedi coming behind that in the Engage F1 car. I believe this is the number 22. Yes, I am correct. The 22 Engage car. We've got Blind Jesus picking up, I believe, either his first or his second podium in the series just on his debut return race, and he's definitely going to be chasing down Rip Chief Jedi, who's only a second ahead of him. So we've got a race in for 2nd position on the Sonoma GP, and we've also got a race going down for the 4th position. We've got Scott Meek still in the 4th position with the 2 drivers, Static Energy and No Not Really, following close behind. So it seems as if it's a stalemate for now in the last 3 laps of the Grand Prix, as No Not Really tries to go for a move. He's got the wing in there, but he can't get it to stick. Static Energy holding around the outside, staying in the wake of Scott Meek. That's got to be doing something to both of their tires, following Scott Meek behind. Scott Meek just cruising along, as it looks like Static Energy might try and make a move up the inside, but he's not quite close enough. But it looks like No Not Really's trying to sniff a move around the outside going into turn 1. He's now switched it back to the inside. It looks like he's got a bit of a run, but Static Energy's just cut him off. He said, nope, no thank you. These are my 3 laps, and this is my 5th position. You can't have it, sir. Scott Meek just enjoying the battle behind us. Scott Meek runs wide and loses 2 positions in one corner. One to Static Energy, the other to No Not Really, and he ought to be kicking himself right in the diffuser as to how in the world he made such a mistake with only 2 laps remaining. In fact, No Not Really looking to make this race a little bit more racy, as it seems as if it might not even be a simple mistake from Scott Meek. It might be his tires have completely fallen off the cliff as he ran wide into turn 7 as well. Now maybe he's just barely holding on to the tires. As we come to the last 2 laps of the Grand Prix, we've got the battle between Static Energy and No Not Really, who's apparently gotten through. So No Not Really gotten through into 4th. He'll be trying to pull a gap to Static Energy. And we've got Blind Jesus still 1 second behind Rip Chief Jedi. It's now pulled to 1.5 seconds. So it could be that Blind Jesus' tires have just fallen off. And he might not have the grip to take it to Rip Chief Jedi in the last 2 remaining laps. The last 2 remaining laps of the race. I think this is actually the last lap of the race. We're currently on lap 34 out of 35. Got Travic in first, but only by 6 seconds. It seems as if the 2 cars behind have cut into his lead by about 2.5 seconds so far. To 3 seconds, now gone down to 5.5 seconds, but it could just be Travic letting off. It is the final lap of the Grand Prix. You've got Rip Chief Jedi in second, Blind Jesus third. No, Not Really. After having not the all too best of starts, he went from 4th to last. In 4th position, we've got Static Energy in 5th, Scott Meek in 6th. Big O in 7th. He's not going to be too happy about the performance this evening. We've got Stocky in 8th. He tried to make the strategy work. It looked like it was coming to him, but it didn't seem to stick throughout the race. Nice drive there, Stocky. Nice drive there, Jesus. Blind Jesus. And Cobus Marie coming down into 9th. We've got Flying Spark in 10th. Just didn't seem to have the best of races either, and we've got our camera crew. So that is the race for this evening, it looks like, because I believe the AI take over after lap number 1, and this would be lap number... Actually, I believe Static might have even got into third position. No, they just all ran out of gas. And that is our grid. We've got Travic in first, Rip into P2, Blind Jesus into P3. He's been promoted. And we've got No Not into 4th. Static Energy into 5th. I believe closer to... I think he's lost only 1 position this race. And Stocky in 8th. Scott Meek in 6th position. And Cobus Marine 7th. But that is the 21st round of the Sonoma GP. I am your host, DeadOptionSlicks, and I appreciate that you sat through this entire derpy affair, because I'm very tired and I cannot really speak well right now. Really needed some coffee for this race. Very interesting toward the end.
Out in front of Blind, and then before you come round and I flipped the car upside down.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were saving fuel.
No, I flipped the car upside down. That's why the fucking fuel went.
Spill on
That's
I
a
have
good
to go,
race,
guys.
no.
Thank you. Well done.
Yeah.
Good job, team.
Oh, Blind Jesus actually did make it into second, so that was the last lap that we were looking at. And it seems like Blind Jesus has taken the second... Wait, no. What in the world has happened? How is Rip in 5th position? This is very, very confusing. We'll have to talk to the race directors. Wait, so was Rip actually in 5th?
best races I've ever done. Blind was putting pressure on me, but I was in front of him. And I just slid off on one of the corners. Come by me, and then trying to catch up with him, I lost the back end and flipped the car over.
Okay, so that was the last lap. Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
should have let off. I kept my foot down in the slide, just thinking I could save it. Driving into it, and it just went.
Bummer. Well, I got my first backward